sorry.
Well, it wasn't like we were getting an outside thing. Your words were just disappearing. It was going like somebody put it on mute and then it would come back in.
Oh, wow.
I've
Sorry
had that
about that.
happen
My
on several
apologies.
conversations today.
Yeah, no problem. But can you briefly just reintroduce yourself? Because you were here in January, but just briefly let the audience know who you are and, you know, why the nation knows your name.
Well, my name is Trevian Cutie, and I want to thank you guys for having me again today. I am a lobbyist. I am a publicist. I work for people like Kanye West. I handled a lot of the cases during the Me Too movement. So Kevin Spacey, Chris Brown, Bill Cosby, R. Kelly. But then not even recently, but August of 2023, I was indicted with now sitting President Donald Trump in a Fulton County RICO, as you all know, with Fani Willis. So I'm here to kind of just shed some more light on this bill, Senate Bill 244 that passed on the 6th, as a co-defendant who is looking to recover fees. This is a phenomenal piece of legislation. I don't see any hindrance in the House. So we're all looking forward to having this case dismissed, because we won't recover anything unless the case is dismissed. So it's not just co-defendants filing a motion to disqualify Fani Willis and she gets disqualified. The case also, according to the legislation, the case also has to be dismissed. This also is a good thing for other criminal defendants in the state of Georgia that has had a prosecuting attorney or, someone, present misconduct towards them in their criminal cases. They are also ones who are able to recover fees, reasonable attorney fees per the legislation. So we're happy to hear this news.
And not at $720,000 for some basic preliminary garbage.
Exactly.
By Attorney Wade that the taxpayers paid. This is to stop lawfare. I guess that was the new attraction in Fani World out in Fulton County. Lawfare, the new exciting ride as we roller coaster over the Bill of Rights.
Again and again and again.
They can be swept up into this exercise in Nazism and fascism. Watch it here in America, the one and only fascist county, Fani World.
Well, speaking of Fani Willis, so because this bill is passed, now you have to wait to see if your case is going to be completely dismissed before you can file the motion to reclaim, to get the attorney fees
Correct.
reimbursed.
So before anybody can be in a reimbursable state, the state has to dismiss the case altogether. No lingering, like we're in this orphan stage right now. No prosecutor, not a single prosecutor throughout the state of Georgia is going to pick this case up. So it's really just weighing on everyone's life, because nobody's going to pick this case up and it's just sitting. Fani's dragging it out while she's out gallivanting, trying to accrue legal fees because she knows we're coming after her. So unfortunately, as good as this legislation is, we do have to wait until the case is dismissed in its entirety.
You still have to get past the state legislative body.
The House.
Yeah. But 55 to 1.
55. That person didn't vote. Yeah.
There's not even one, just 55 and 1 abstaining,
Exactly.
55 votes, doesn't get any better than that. And that would have been even bipartisan. I imagine it's just to remove the acute embarrassment to the state by having such an awful travesty being apparent and a sort of a stain on the reputation of Georgia.
Well, I also think it's a good deal for the state because we can also come after the state. So it makes sense for the state or some of the state legislators to present this body of legislation just to save the state some money, because not only can we come after Fani Willis, we can also come after Fulton County and the state of Georgia. So in that be a very expensive situation. So this might be just an olive branch extension. I know Brandon Beach. We actually kind of talked about, his lawyer ended up being a conflict of interest for my lawyer. So yeah, it might just be an olive branch.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's this doctrine called sovereign immunity. And essentially, you cannot sue a sovereign, a municipality, city, county, state, federal government, or agency thereof unless it grants permission. So this is a granting of permission. And by the way, if you went after Fani Willis, you're really not going after poor broke Fani Willis, who just managed to seal a few six-figure, maybe seven-figure sums. You're coming after the sovereign entity, the state of Georgia and the county of Fulton. She represents them, so they acted through her.
But we would still list her as a defendant. She
Yeah,
would still be listed as a defendant. Yeah.
But you can also get her individually as well as getting her in her representative capacity. I think she needs to be stomped for the evil that she was going to perpetrate. And I can see Stacey.
And I'm going to put on some big boots.
Too. Stacey Abrams, that idiot that got removed from probate court that you have down there, the young lady who got removed as probate court judge after misappropriating funds and really getting beside herself. Is it something they put in the water down there in Georgia, or what is it?
I think so. I will tell you, I never wanted to even have a layover in the state of Georgia. And I ended up being in Georgia because I was asked to be a campaign manager for a congressional candidate who was running against John Lewis. So my career in Georgia just extended because after that, I ended up working with the Purdue campaign. And then, we get into this whole, the woman who they say that I attempted to, coerce into a confession, which everything is on tape. I mean, I don't know if they thought that the body cam was the only recording device in that interview, but I kind of have waited for this moment. And if I don't get to have the moment in court, I'll definitely put it in a book.
Well, yeah. And I was there in Atlanta when you came up and spoke after me, and Fani seems to have gotten upset. She sent that size large young lady down there to complain about it and tell us to all be quiet, which we did.
We put that in the documentary where we put that, Fani was mad at, the event and sent her henchwoman, to come and shut us down, and it didn't work. So.
You created a documentary?
BBC did a documentary.
Yeah, BBC was there.
Oh,
yes. It's out.
Is it out?
It is out. Okay. Now, according to my bond conditions, I can't say anything on social media about the case, but it said specifically about social media. It didn't say anything about a documentary. So I tell everything in the documentary if you want to watch. John Eastman is in the documentary. It's definitely one of those ones. And I actually got the cover shot for the documentary.
Oh, so your case, when do you think it'll be dismissed? Like, what is going on?
It should be dismissed. It's unfortunate Attorney General Chris Carr has not stepped up to do anything regarding this case. It's unfortunate that Governor Brian Kemp has not stepped up to do anything in this case. So they leave everybody's life in limbo when the motion that Fani has filed to attempt to refute this disqualification, that hasn't even happened. We've got judges now saying that, Fani has to come testify. She's just now, handing over documents to people like Tom Fitton at Judicial Watch. So there's a slow progress in destroying and taking down Fani. And I guess maybe we just all have to be patient.
Yeah, but it's just sitting there. She's off of the case. Nobody is not going to dare pick that case up. He's pregnant now. It's dead in the water. So why don't they just push it along to be dismissed?
Because it's something in the water in Georgia, like Judge said.
Hey, that's what they did with Bill Cosby's case. The judge in that case knew that what he had done was going to be overturned. I predicted it even before they started it. It was a Fifth Amendment problem. And that judge had some documents that he was supposed to submit within 60 days of denying the motion for new trial. He took almost 11 months to get them in so that Cosby would spend at least a year in jail because it would take 30 days to process the things. And Dr. Cosby talked to me on the phone after he got out and indicated that they told him that if he just withdrew his appeal, they'd make sure he got out within the week. 4 days, I think, was the short time involved. And he said, no, it's a matter of principle. He stuck to his guns, which is the thing for people to do. So you got that weirdness with lawfare, and it's just embarrassing. See, young people are looking at that and think that's how the world works. It's not. Like the 34 convictions, we got a president with 34 felony convictions. That trial was so ungodly awful that it is not going to stand. And I understand there's some delays in the appellate administrative process that are holding things up. And that's going nowhere at all because the jury instructions were just flat out embarrassing to the judicial profession. They were so deficient. So that's not going anywhere.
Nope.
They're just trying to keep things uncomfortable for you, but there's this thing called karma.
Amen.
What goes around comes around, and I think Miss Fani is looking at what's happening since she ran her big mouth off, and Attorney Wade did what he did, and I think they're all going to be looking at a federal conspiracy.
It is.
But is there a thing such as karma when we're talking about the justice system?
It's like there is a it's built in. For example, 30 hands. If you want to get relief, you can't walk into court with dirty hands yourself. Like, I've been doing wrong, but somebody did me wrong. Now I want some relief. See, and that's kind of this thing where the people who are being ignored right now in sanctuary cities have been set up for their benefit. There's this thing called Title 8, Section 1324 of the United States Criminal Codes, and all of these folks that set up sanctuary cities are deep off into violation territory, but they're trying to come in and say these criminals who have crashed our borders and infiltrated our land and are criminals because they broke the law to get in here, they want relief. So dirty hands, it's kind of karma. You broke the law, don't expect to get relief from supposedly being treated against the law, unless maybe you get charged with a criminal offense, which is something else again.
So I want to ask Travion, because this bill was passed, does it also apply to other criminal defendants that is looking to recover, let's say, attorney fees? Because Fulton County jail, they have so much scandal, and there are a lot of people that have been sitting
Fani
there
Willis,
past.
under Fani
Yes.
Willis. So this is good. This is a across the board, clean sweep piece of legislation for justice for all who dealt with Fani. I mean, even Young Thug is going to get his money back. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody is getting their refuge. And it was only a matter of time. She's, having her little fundraising events with Jasmine Crockett and all, raising money for her. Jasmine Crockett was the mistress of ceremony.
What was this?
No. This was January. So yeah, and she's got to have that money for her legal fees. Now, who is going to get behind her as far as passing a budget in Fulton County? That's going to be her problem, because with all of her misconduct, and shortly it's going to be proven when they dismiss this case, it's going to cost Atlanta, Fulton County a lot of money. So I just I'm waiting it out. That's all we can do at this point.
So I want to ask you this too. So this is how I see it, because when you look at New York, DC, and in Georgia with the different Trump cases, especially let's just focus in Georgia, because of how that whole case fell apart and the co-defendants, all of you guys, you know, you guys are well connected. And I'm not saying you're wealthy, but you're well connected. You have money to, let's say, afford an attorney that's not going to put you in a poorhouse. I look at it, because this is a victory for not just Trump, but for all of the co-defendants, someone who is sitting in a Fulton County jail way past the time that they're supposed to, without being seen in front of a judge, that have to pay for an attorney that they cannot afford. His victory is really a victory for the unseen and the unheard people going through the system.
Exactly. So there'll be more Trump supporters, I guarantee you, in the city of Atlanta, you know, when this is all over. Nobody is going to be able to take these kudos from President Trump. And, you know, it just keeps, you know, we keep winning and we keep winning. Everything comes to light. You know, all these other cases have been dismissed, or they've, you know, come to some type of resolution. This case in Georgia is the only one that remains. We've got Letitia James, who lost her security clearance today. You know, it's all.
Oh, she did.
No, Alvin Bragg, Letitia James, their security clearance gone today. So it's all, you know, retribution is on the way to the finish line. And, you know, I'm happy to be a part of it. You know, if this was, you know, part of my destiny and history, was to help, you know, turn around this lawfare against, you know, candidates and American citizens, J6ers, then, you know, I'm so happy and proud to be here.
Speaking of that, I want to play this video because you tweeted, I think you retweeted this, right?
One of them, yeah,
Watch?
not that exact one, but one of those, yes.
Okay, so he's saying, after claiming 0 documents existed, Fani Willis now admits to having 212 pages showing comms with the communications with the J6 city to target Trump. Let me see, what does this look? Okay, let me just play this clip real quick. Let's see what
Judicial Watch filed a Freedom of Information or Open Records Act lawsuit in Georgia against Fani Willis after she didn't turn over any documents or responded responded with a, as I keep on saying, a hand to the face for our request about documents with detailing any collusion she had to get Trump with Jack Smith operation and the Pelosi January 6th operation. And more or less, she said, oh, 3, 4, 5 times, I don't have documents. And even worse, she didn't even show up in court to answer our complaint. So she was found in default. The court noted that the searches were just not real searches at all. She admitted that there were documents after telling us and the court repeatedly there were no documents. The court ordered her to pay Judicial Watch's fees, attorney's fees and costs. So her operation had to pay us nearly $22,000, but we still don't have the documents. And we've been asking for a special master, which would be a judicial appointed individual who would oversee a legitimate search of records. Today at the hearing, in a hearing over our request for a special master, they said they did another search, and now there are 212 pages of records. Can you believe it? So they went from having 0 records to 212 pages of records about their collusion with the Pelosi January 6th operation to get.
By the way, that's conspiracy. That is covered under Title 8, Section 1324, etc., the United States Criminal Codes. That is conspiracy. And I think for what they did, I think the cap on that is 10 years, with the likely one being 25. So in federal system, when you do 10 years, you do 120 months, you get out after 116 months, which is 4 months shy of 10 years. So they might be looking at some considerable time.
Well, I can tell you for certain that I am proof of their collusion. I was subpoenaed by Jack Smith and the Department of Justice and the FBI to come to DC and testify about Fani Willis. Now, if I'm correct, they are federal. Fani state case. So I have the subpoena. There's, you know, they stalked me for over a year followed me everywhere. They were in my emails. They were following me on Uber. Like, I am proof of her collusion. So that subpoena within itself, I had nothing to do with January 6th. I wasn't in DC for January 6th. There's no way I should be, even tied to congruently in any possible way with that case. So I've submitted my subpoena. One of my other co-defendants also submitted his, I don't know if he submitted it, but he was also subpoenaed, and his case was public because they actually came and got him, roughed him up while he had his daughter. So there's definitely proof of collusion, and like I said, it's all coming to light, and it's just a matter of time.
See, what the theory would be is this. The same people decided that they were going to subvert the American system. And they met and planned and plotted what became January 6th. And see, there's a whole lot to that has not been reported on by the press, but it's pretty obvious when you look at the peripheral facts. Also, they wanted to get Trump because they wanted their agenda in. And in the process of doing it, they came to an agreement to do something. And when you have a group of people in agreement to do something, even if what they want to do is otherwise legal or done in a legal way, it becomes a felony because it is a conspiracy. For example, to change step a little bit, let's supposing that we had 19 merchants in a small municipal area saying, we want to reduce the prices on some product. Okay, sounds good. But let's supposing that Walmart was coming there and they wanted to reduce the price on these products so they could drive Walmart out of that market. Well, that has now become a criminal conspiracy. It's also antitrust too, because it is an agreement with an unlawful purpose. In this case, to restrict trade. And in the other one with you, the January 6th bunch with all of the suspects, Biden, Harris, all of the suspects that can think of, Fani and Letitia and Fox and Smith and Bragg, etc. Their agreement was, we have to destroy this mega monster. So we're going to go after everybody. And if that's what they said and they had an agreement to do that, that is a felony.
Right.
Irrespective of how they went about it.
Exactly.
And the interesting thing is whereas ordinarily you have to have something besides the uncorroborated evidence from an accomplice to convict, when there is a conspiracy, you do not.
Exactly.
In a conspiracy, if any one person does any one act in furtherance of the aims of the conspiracy, then you have probable cause that there is a conspiracy, and all of that kicks in, and the rules of evidence and what is admissible, all of that loosens up quite a bit, because conspiracies are viewed as being so entirely dangerous to the public.
Okay, I have two more things I want to ask you.
Are you feeling relieved, by the way? I want to ask you.
I was never stressed out. You can go all the way back from the day I indicted.
Yeah, I see a picture you being stressed out.
Stressed out. It was just like, can I pay for it? Yeah. Okay. So you can pay for it. You really don't have the stress. You know what I mean? It's like you got people to handle that. So
I'm talking about what they had against you and the rest of the Trump defendants now.
Oh, no. Because I waited to present my case in court. It puts me in the position to sue the woman who they say I tried to coerce a testimony out of. I was the one that they knew was the sleeper. Like, it was, they had to, if outside of President Trump and Rudy Giuliani, I was in the press more than any of the other co-defendants, but mine started back December 10th of 2021 when Reuters broke the story about me, Kanye, and did Kanye put it, Trump put Kanye up to having me do it. Like, it was a big, so I've been dealing with this since December 10th, 2021. So being in the media, being a publicist and being a crisis manager, the only thing I know for a fact is I'm never going to create a crisis. I know how to deal with crisis. You get a good legal team, and then you just sit back and wait and you play your position. So, they weren't ready for the evidence that I had, even though the woman who they say I intimidated knew I had the evidence, which is why there's no, you don't ever hear her say anything about me.
Well, unfortunately, the American public just got tired of this flam and said no.
Amen.
I have a question. Somebody, who is this? Chris. Can Fani and crew be charged with RICO?
It's looking like that. And I mean,
she already, let's put it this way. I've been involved in criminal law one way or another for about 50 years. And I told Dana when we were listening to Fanny's testimony that day when Judge McAfee said, ma'am, we were trying to decide whether it'd be necessary for you to testify. Well, I decided I'm going to testify anyway. We're doing the snake charm thing. I stopped when I got to 4 pages of small handwriting about all of the things that she implemented herself in, including RICO. That cash transactions, those were done for money laundering purposes. And I tell you what's going on. The big scam was that there was nobody that had to approve what she okayed to pay Wade.
right.
And she had paid him $720,000 for essentially doing nothing, for work that hadn't even resulted in a trial setting, no motion settings except for those that were sponsored by the defense. And they potentially could have gotten between $6.5 and about $8 million paid that they could have split what with the cash transactions they were doing. I heard false statements to a federal agency or official, meaning the IRS. She gave them information that she couldn't afford to pay $8,500 in past due taxes.
Exactly.
But she testified that at the same time she had $15,000 plus in cash in a cookie jar in the house. So obviously one of those is a false statement. She either perjured herself on the state level, or most likely they're going to get her for a false statement to the feds. Now, let's see. Then there's Dana alluded to it, to $7.5 million from the state of Georgia, which also has some federal funds that they passed on to her, which brings the feds in.
Yep.
That was supposed to be used to catch up on prosecutions, meaning everybody in for 45 days being detained pre-trial is supposed to be indicted in Georgia, but they weren't. $2 million for overdue sex crimes prosecution, and this is a woman letting sex crimes go to weed, and then $500,000 for juvenile prosecutions. That's $10 whole million that's just missing, that they were trying to get her to talk about. So I'm looking at obstruction of justice. I'm looking at making a knowingly false set of statements in addition to IRS to other federal agencies that dispense funds like they do to large district attorneys' offices to deal with prosecution and matters like that. I'm looking at official oppression, all kinds of things. God, I mean, it's like,
I know, right?
how dumb can you get?
God.